Hi everyone, I hope you all are great. Today we will have restrictive and non-restrictive elements. First, you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on you move on to language at the grade 7. Chapter is restrictive and non-restrictive elements. Lesson will be what does the punctuation suggest? Commas with non-restrictive elements. Hi to you, I hope you're good. All right, so we have a restrictive element in a sentence is necessary in order for a reader to identify exactly who or what is being discussed. Restrictive information is not set off with commas. So when you have restrictive elements in a sentence, it is necessary in order for a reader to identify exactly who or what is being discussed, and you don't need to add commas with the restrictive elements. Now, the teacher who is retiring is being honored with an award on Friday. So the underlying restrictive clause helps the reader identify which teacher is being honored. Now the teacher is being honored with an award on Friday. If you don't add the restrictive clause, then it is impossible for the reader to understand which teacher is being honored. But if you say the teacher who is retiring, then it makes it a clearer sentence and the reader can understand who is being discussed in that sentence. And then for the non-restrictive element provides information. The non-restrictive element provides information that is supplemental. It is not necessary in order for a reader to identify who or what is being discussed. So in non-restrictive elements, you don't need to identify who or what is being discussed. The information is supplemental, right? Now, non-restrictive information is always set up with commas. For the non-restrictive, unlike the restrictive, you need to add comma in the non-restrictive element. So we have the Golden Gate Bridge, which was opened in 1937, took over 4 years to build. Now the underlying information isn't required to interpret the sentence because even if you take off the underlying information, the sentence still remains the same. So the Golden Gate Bridge took over 4 years to build. So without the information, a reader will still know which bridge we took that took 4 years to be built. Okay. Okay, let's look at some examples. Okay, so we have what does the following sentence suggest? The guest lecturer, Mary, your mother, will address the following question: would high speed rail solve America's transportation problem? So there's only one guest lecturer. That's what it's telling us. Okay. All right, let's just go to the test and then you can share your answers with me if you know them. So, what does the following sentence suggest? The concert attendees who order tickets in advance may enter the arena as early as 4 p.m. So, is it the first or second? All right, so we have some concert attendees did not order tickets in advance. Okay, that's what the sentence suggests. So, what does the following sentence suggest? The exhibit that displays about 1,500 dinosaur bones is a popular attraction at the Quarry Exhibit Hall in Dinosaur National Monument. First to second. So we have the first one. Okay. So we have Mr. Mason continued his annual tradition of inviting friends over for a 4th of July hootenanny at his vacation home, which is on the Russia River near Forestville. Is it first or second? Okay. So we have what? The first one? Okay. All right. Next month, the Cedar Box Park the department remove elm trees that have been diagnosed with Dutch elm disease in an effort to prevent the fungus from spreading to other trees. First to second. Okay, so we have the first one. Okay. Put the cherries that are bruised or soft in this container. Bunny instructed her assistants in the kitchen. We can use them to make jam. First to second. So we have the second. Only some of the cherry are bruised or soft. January is a college admission counselor at the local high school where Donald expects to enroll in a few years. First to second. Okay, so what do we have here? The second one. Every Labor Day, Bridget and her family host an elaborate barbecue for the neighbors who stay in town. First to second. Okay, so we have what? The second. Okay. Norwood's Concert Hall, which seats about 800 people, was designed by local architect Sarah Montoya. First a second. Okay, we have the second. Okay. According to the law, foods that have been processed and has been produced and processed according to the certain government standards are allowed to be at the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture organic label. First to second. All right, we have the second one. Okay, that's it for this lesson. We'll move on to the next one. So make sure you complete the first if you haven't done it, okay? So all we need to note is that for the restrictive, it is necessary for us to understand what or who is being spoken about in the sentence, and it is not set off with commas. But then for the non-restrictive, it doesn't really matter whether we know who is being discussed in the sentence or not, and usually we have commas in the non-restrictive. So if the relative clause in bold is non-restrictive, set it off with comma. If it is restrictive, submit the text without making any change. If you don't consider the audience that you're writing for, you may find yourself without an audience at all. The creative writing instructor cautioned her students. So what do we have? That you are writing for is necessary to identify that. Okay, let's go to the test. So if the relative clause is in bold, is not restrictive, set off a comma. If it is restrictive, submit the text without making any changes. So at its height, the Inca Empire, which controlled some 10 million people, was the largest empire in the world. First to second. Okay, so we have the second, it is non-restrictive. All right, so diamonds, precious gem renowned for their dazzling sparkle, are formed when carbon atoms undergo extreme pressure at high temperature, usually around 100 miles below the surface of the earth. First to second. Okay, so we have the first one. Okay. All right, so California Sequoia National Park is home to General Sherman, the world's largest giant sequoia. Is it first or second? So we have the first one. Okay. Ed, who is adept at repairing broken electronics, refused to disassemble and inspect his sister's glitchy laptop. Instead, he advised her to buy a new one. First to second. All right, so we have the second. Okay. All right, so what do you think is the right one for this? Is it the first or second? So the lyricist Oscar Hammerstein too is the only person named Oscar to have won an academic award. First or second? Okay, so we have the first one. Okay. After spending a semester in Kyoto, Ellen started a blog for people who are interested in Japanese culture. First to second. So we have the first one. All right, one of the main characters in 2001, A Space Odyssey, is a computer that has been programmed to think like a human. Is it first or second? Okay, we have the second. All right, so many historians agree that the Soviet launch of the satellite Sputnik 1 began the space race between the United States and the USSR. First to second. So we have the second. Okay, that's it for our lesson under the restrictive and non-restrictive elements. Can you tell me if you have any questions? All right, since you have no questions, we'll end here. Complete this lesson if you haven't done it. See you next time. Bye.